Good evening, Santa Barbara. Welcome to the Granada Theater. It is awesome to be together here again, and what a magnificent group of people to come out on a Monday night. We've got a really, really spectacular evening planned for you here. My name is Sean Cleary. I'll be your MC this evening. And it's a joy for me to see so many friends. And I hear the chatter amongst you because I know you love catching up with your old friends. Many of you I know, many I don't, but I want to introduce my family who may be here. Betsy, my beautiful wife of 38 years. Wave to everybody, Betsy. And my daughter Shannon and my son Connor. And Kelsey and Adrian, you guys have to stand up just real quick because we're celebrating babies in life tonight. Adrian's doing a very special work here. And we will be first-time grandparents. So we couldn't be more excited just personally, but this event this evening means something deeply personal to us, as I know it does to each of you. So a quick overview of the evening, and then we're going to start off with a prayer. So for the evening, we've got three main things for you. First, we have Kyle Mann, the chief editor of the Babylon Bee, here this evening. So excited to hear from Kyle. I did not know that is the world's largest and most influential satire site. So far-reaching, absolutely amazing. Number two, you're going to hear some of the incredible stories about the works that are being done by Network Medical. And we are here to celebrate their success over the past year and to support them into the coming year. And third, we together are going to make a statement that we stand for life. And there is going to be a fundraiser this evening. Yes, and you are here. These are the people here to do the work. So at the end of it, we're going to tally up the giving, and it's your statement. And that Santa Barbara is a great place to be, not just a beautiful place to live. So with that, let me pause, and let's start this off right. We've got Pastor Tom Hagen, who is going to start us off in prayer. He's a brilliant theologian and the head pastor at El Montecito.
Would you please pray with me? Heavenly Father, you are good, and your steadfast love endures forever. Thank you for this opportunity to support the vital work of Network Medical, this opportunity to celebrate life. Give Network Medical leadership, staff, and volunteers wisdom, strength, and encouragement as they empower women and men to make informed, reproductive, and sexual health choices. Provide for the financial and staffing needs of Network Medical so more women in Santa Barbara can receive the medical services and education and resources that they need. Father God, most of all, thank you that we are made in your image and that there isn't a place in this universe where we can flee from your presence. Come near to us this evening. We want to hear your voice. We want to laugh. We want to have our hearts moved and our minds enriched as we learn from you and experience everything that you have to offer. So soften our hearts tonight to be receptive to you and all the people in this world who are your image bearers. And we ask this in Jesus Christ's precious name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Tom. Thank you for paving the way. We appreciate him. I also want to thank the band Alive. Were they amazing? Isn't that beautiful? And so Jason Paris and his team, they do ministry work to youth and young people all over our community. So we really appreciate their donated time and energy. This evening, we're going to get a couple of instructions. We're going to start off with the best part. Because it is your work that's going to be done that's going to support and celebrate Network Medical in the coming year. And so everybody should have received the envelope, please. Feels like the Academy Awards here. And if you haven't received it, there are ushers who can get them to you, please. It's not just for giving. It's also for volunteering and commitments to pray and support this vital bedrock ministry. But in there, you're going to find a really nice piece of cardboard to write on to support your ergonomic needs. There's a lovely pen to fill this out, and there's a few things that I'll point out and emphasize, and there may be a big screen picture on here coming up, but if you take it out, you'll see a couple things to emphasize. Please give your email for a tax-deductible receipt. Please note your church affiliation. Network Medical is so connected to and supported by our many churches and pastors that are here this evening. Thank you for your support. There's also a section down here on the lower right where you can volunteer and sign up for mentor training and a variety of things. You can also ask for insights and knowledge about if you choose to donate stocks or bonds that you may have. There's some terrific tax deductions for doing that. I can't tell you about the details of those, but it is good. I know that much. And really 4 ways to give. 1, commit to prayer. 2, volunteer if you can find it in your time to go down and to support this organization. Number 3, you can make a one-time gift in the upper section, and then there's monthly support to be given. And the monthly support, very important, is this. If you are already giving and you're committing to continue to give for another year on a monthly basis, please put that down. And then for us to be able to celebrate together, at the end of the evening, we want you to write on the back of the envelope your total amount for the year. So if you're going to give $1 per month, I don't know if anybody can see this, you would write a 12. If you're going to give $10 a month, you would write 120. If you're like a couple of the folks that I know here, you may give $1,200. Oh, by the way, that's the amount that has been identified and correlated with rescuing one child this coming year. So we hope you'll consider that. And if you're kind of a high roller, you can keep adding zeros. That's okay too. So with that, I think we're ready to start the evening. And it's my pleasure, it's a privilege to introduce Jaylyn. Many of you already know Jaylyn. She is a mainstay in our community, wonderfully celebrated person. But if you haven't met her, stay around, get to know her. There's other areas in the neighborhood that you may be able to get to know her as well. But Jaylyn grew up in Texas, of all places. She lived there for 24 years. She earned her bachelor's degree in finance and became a very successful malpractice lawyer. And amazingly, Jaylyn reverse migrated. The Babylon Bee gentlemen can't figure this out because everybody's moving to Texas who's pro-life. And Jaylyn came here. She is deeply committed to our community, to stay here and to make things work. And when she isn't out spending time with people like you or working at the clinics, you'll find Jaylyn typically on the pickleball courts. And her favorite saying is, I think there's a t-shirt that says, I love Jesus, pickleball, and coffee. So she's that kind of gal. Let's invite her up here, please.
Thank you, Sean. Good evening. Welcome. Guys, it's true. I love Jesus, and I am pretty crazy about pickleball, too. In fact, I am so crazy about this that I've been thinking about starting a network medical pickleball club. I know you guys are out there. I've seen some of your names on rosters, so I want you to do me a favor. At the end of the night, you saw that giving form. I want you to write pickleball at the top of your form if you play or you want me to teach you. Let's play some pickleball. All right. For those of you who do not know who we are, Network Medical Women's Center is a nonprofit medical clinic licensed by the state of California to provide free medical services and resources to women in unplanned pregnancies. Our medical services include pregnancy test, state-of-the-art 3D, 4D ultrasound, and STD testing and treatment. We have an amazing team of registered nurses and staff who do this incredible job creating a safe, non-judgmental space for women to come, process the reality of their pregnancies, their circumstances, and get help they need to choose life. We also have post-abortion support services. We know that research tells us that 81% of women and men will suffer emotionally after an abortion. So we want to make sure that we're there for them too. Now, since Kyle is here from the Babylon Bee, I thought tonight would be a really good night to share with you briefly how culture and the media impacts the women we serve in Network Medical. And guys, you know this. We live in a depraved culture where women believe that abortion is her only choice to an unplanned pregnancy. Women are conditioned by the media, politicians, political parties, social media platforms, culture movements, and multi-million-dollar advertising budgets by the likes of Planned Parenthood and online abortion providers. That pregnancy is a problem, the solution is an abortion. Planned Parenthood touts on their website, care no matter what, but only if that care is abortion. If a patient is undecided or she wants to weigh her options, she is promptly shown the door at Planned Parenthood on Garden Street. Guys, we know this because those patients come to us and they tell us so. Women are told to shout your abortion, and they blindly chant ridiculous mantras like my body, my choice. But they never stop to think that those in power have not even given them a choice. To have true choice, you must have options. But our mainstream culture, media, and current government, it does not give them that. It doesn't provide women choices. It doesn't promote, fund, advertise, or provide any life-affirming, family-building choices. Instead, our culture, it does the diabolical. It turns women against the natural order of their bodies, causing them to hate and reject one of the greatest gifts that's ever been given to them, motherhood. And they inflict self-harm upon themselves and destroy their unborn through medical and surgical abortions. Our mainstream culture is driven by the spiritual powers of darkness, and it is destroying our nuclear family unit and our society before our very eyes. Now, big tech companies like Google censors work like ours, and they actively suppress our ads in favor of those that advance their political agenda, abortion. Network Medical, well, we are met with resistance in our community by pro-abortion activism, fake reviews, and yes, we all know cancel culture hit us last year. Proposed bills continue to loom in the California legislature as they constantly work to find ways to shut us down. But guys, we at Network Medical, we will not lose sight of our mission and our purpose. We exist to serve women, save lives, and help these courageous women that choose life to prepare for motherhood and thrive in it. At Network Medical, we have the privilege of standing on the front lines against this insane culture and spiritual war. In this battle, we are little David against Goliath. And like David, we don't see how big Goliath is. Instead, we see how big our God is. And big, guys, oh, he so is. Let me tell you, despite all the opposition that has come against us, we posted our best year ever at Network Medical. Last year alone, 107 women chose life for their babies. This breaks the previous record of 101 in 2018. 17 of these women changed the course of their families' generations by receiving Christ into their hearts. That's right. 2023 marked the first full year of our new STD testing and treatment program for our pregnancy at risk population. We served 63 new patients. Most of those were college students from UCSB and SBCC. We are reaching our campuses now. We taught 39 birthing classes, preparing our patients for birth and motherhood. We paired 13 mentors with patients, or vice versa. Our very own Susie's Closet served 139 families and 192 children with things that they need to raise their family. And we also created a new auxiliary team who is helping us expand our reach into the community and our local churches. Thank you, auxiliary. You know who you are. And guys, we also hired a new marketing firm who may or may not have some Google insiders on payroll. And we are in the final stages of a website redesign with them. Since our new marketing firm took the reins this past year, we have already started serving more women. We are reaching them every single day. Now, with that said, we are preparing now to be ready for the additional patient volume that we are expecting once the website is done and our new marketing tactics are fully engaged. So we have a couple of huge announcements. One, we are hiring 2 new nurses. So if you are a registered nurse here, I'm talking to you, or if you know someone and you love babies and mamas, please come see me afterwards. Call our office or email. We would love to chat with you. And 2, we are also hiring the right person to facilitate our post-abortion support classes. And guys, we need volunteers too. We need volunteers that speak Spanish who can help us translate with our patients. And we need more volunteer mentors. Our mentors are so important. They help us wrap around our patients that choose life with more encouragement and support. If you are interested in becoming a mentor, please tick that box on your giving form, and we will get a hold of you. I think the next training course will be in May. And finally, and it's so crazy that I get to say this, we are actually making some headway in our community. Despite opposition and some tough talks, we are so excited that we get to share with you that we have become a referral source for Girls Inc. Carpinteria. For both pregnancy and STD services, rivaling the likes of none other than Planned Parenthood. Little David against Goliath. That's how big our God is. Thank you for coming out, especially on a Monday night. I see the house is packed. That is amazing. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Jalen. You are such an important part of our community. Thank you for everything that you do, including bringing Kyle Mann to speak to us here this evening. So I've got a few words to set the stage for Mr. Mann, and some of it fairly formal. As a prolific comedy writer and public speaker and podcast host, Kyle has written thousands of headlines and articles for the Babylon Bee, and also, which I did not know, the world's largest, most influential satire site. That just blew me away. Kyle has also authored and co-authored many books. And The Sacred Text to the Babylon Bee, The Babylon Bee Guide to Wokeness, The Babylon Bee Guide to Democracy, okay, and the Postmodern Pilgrim's Progress, and I think How to Be a Perfect Christian. Now, in the spirit of satire, I have to ask Kyle, I'm a little put off that I wasn't invited to write a chapter or two, so yeah. Very satirical. Kyle's a man after my own heart. I love the way his humor and incisiveness, if you think about it, in some ways, it takes the sting out of some of these really painful issues that are tormenting us these days. And we just appreciate everything that you do, Kyle. Now, Santa Barbara, we're going to give him a special welcome. I'll see if you can do this. You don't seem like a big-time wrestling audience, okay? But if you can help me out with this. Santa Barbara, are you ready to bumble? Are you ready to bumble? Kyle, come on. Thank you, man.
Let's hear it again. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you guys for having me out. Are you ready to bumble? I've never heard that one before. Maybe with good reason, but thank you guys for having me out here tonight. Pickleball, that's great. I'm glad we got to hear about pickleball. It's like tennis for old people. And there you Not saying anything about you, just in general. But it's great to be out here, and it's fun and funny to me when I speak to crowds like this and groups like Network Medical that are out there actually doing the hard work and actually fighting on the front lines. And then I come on as a featured guest and featured speaker of the evening, keynote speaker. And I'm just a nerdy guy that writes headlines in my garage, and that's all I do. I tell jokes on the internet, and that's my job, and I actually get paid for it. So it's humbling, though, to come and talk to people that are actually out there doing the hard work on things that matter and things that are so important in our society. But what I found, though, obviously not all of us can give all of our time and all of our energy to the causes that we would like to spend so much time working on. But we can do little things. We can do small acts of faithfulness in order to serve and in order to help. And I think that's so important, no matter what your vocation is, whether you write jokes on the internet or you have a real job, or no matter what you're doing out there in the world. It's important, and it's important work to have Christians in the workplace that are supporting this kind of cause. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for supporting Network Medical and continuing to support as we go on into the night. So I'm Kyle Mann. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Babylon Bee, which is a Christian news satire site, which are words that have never been strung together in the history of mankind. I was talking to Jordan Peterson last week because we were in New York interviewing him, and he comes up and he's like, "Oh, Kyle, it's just so interesting that you have this idea for this business, and it's called the Babylon Bee, and it's Christian news satire. And if you had pitched that business to me, I would have said, no way am I going to invest in that. That'll never work." And he was amazed, and he seemed to have this sense of wonder that God had used our little website in a small way to impact the culture and to maybe change the world. And we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. But it's been humbling and honoring to see the way that God has used our small, ordinary acts of faithfulness in order to change the world. Our goal at the Babylon Bee is to make people laugh and then to make them think. G.K. Chesterton said that humor can get in under the door while seriousness is still fumbling at the handle. And we find that so true with the Babylon Bee. When someone reads the Babylon Bee headline, they're laughing, and they don't even realize that they're starting to think, and that we're starting to plant the seed of something for them to think about. I think comedy is important. I think defending our right to free speech is important. But I think most of all, it's important. Thank you. But most importantly tonight, I'm going to tell you a little bit of the story of what we've done at the Babylon Bee and how it's impacted the world in this small way and how humbled I am to be a part of it. And I want to encourage you, and I want to give you some hope that the smallest act of faithfulness can sometimes bring about the greatest change. But for some context, let's talk a little bit. The Babylon Bee, founded 8 years ago, right in the middle of the Trump and Clinton election, which there's no better time to start a satire site in the middle of a Trump-Clinton election. G.K. Chesterton again. I promise I'll only quote him 3 or 4 times tonight, I think. G.K. Chesterton wrote in 1911, "Satire has weakened in our epoch for several reasons, but chiefly, I think, because the world has become too absurd to be satirized." Here's a few headlines from the real news recently. These are not Babylon Bee headlines. These are real. Police department posts photos of suspects with Lego heads on them to protect their IDs under a new California law. The White House defends Biden's claim that his uncle was eaten by cannibals. I always get mad at my writers. They say, "Why didn't you think of that first?" Pastor Mark Driscoll calls out male stripper at men's conference at church. Got some questions about that one. New Jersey Senate candidate mocked for suggesting that the earthquake was caused by climate change. In fact, the headlines are so nuts that sometimes we write jokes that end up coming true. We wrote this one: "State with no electricity orders everyone to drive cars that run on electricity." And you can see we wrote that in 2020, and then in 2022, California asked residents to stop charging their electric cars. It was the week after they passed a law to ban gas-powered cars. Government Disinformation Board determines all criticism of Government Disinformation Board to be disinformation. And just days later, Mayorkas cited misinformation about Homeland Security's Disinformation Board. That very thing we were talking about. A study finds anyone still wearing a mask is probably just super ugly. With apologies to anyone who's wearing a mask tonight. So it reads like satire, but the Daily Wire reported 2 years later, people who think themselves unattractive are more likely to keep wearing masks. So at the Babylon Bee, it's every day. You got to wake up and read the real news headlines and try to come up with something even more absurd. It is a tough job. It is not easy all the time. We face other struggles, though. We face external attacks. Did you know that the Babylon Bee's jokes get fact-checked? Our jokes get fact-checked regularly by different places. We have stirred up quite the storm of controversy if you've ever seen us on social media and all this stuff. And what I keep coming back to, and what I'll keep coming back to tonight is this idea that people think that we're this massive threat to democracy and that we're spreading misinformation and we're these evil guys, smoking cigars in our basement trying to figure out how to trick your grandma on Facebook. And it's so funny because we're just these guys that like humor and we want to put joy out into the world. We want to make people laugh. And for some reason, the left, and for some reason our culture has decided that humor is offensive and the truth is offensive. Imagine a culture that's offended by jokes. That's the culture that we're living in. I don't know if you guys remember growing up, it felt like the political sides could laugh with each other and laugh at each other, and you would watch Saturday Night Live or all the late night shows, and it was good-natured ribbing of each other's political beliefs, and it was fairly balanced, and we were all having a good time because comedy has this way of uniting us, right? Comedy has this way of bringing us together, helping us to see each other's perspective and each other's point of view. But now it seems that the left has become so zealous and so religious in their beliefs that they can't abide their ideas being mocked any longer. It used to be that conservatives and Christians were kind of that way, right? Like we used to be kind of a little bit fuddy-duddy, right? We were the guys who were, sitting there and you can't have fun and you can't smoke and you can't chew. And, we were kind of the people that were the scolds and stuff. And now it seems like that has reversed, and the left have become the ones that are so zealous about their beliefs that they're unable to laugh at themselves. It's so important, guys, to be able to laugh at ourselves and to take ourselves lightly. That's the only way that we're going to win this fight that we're in. And, like I said, my job is being funny and living in the world of humor, but I recognize how dark the battle is out there, especially for issues like pro-life and abortion and pro-choice and Roe v. Wade being overturned. It's a demonic battle, and it's a spiritual battleground out there, for sure. But it's so important that we retain a sense of humor and that we retain a sense of joy and that we be joyful warriors in the middle of that fight. We have to have hope. We have to remember that God is in control of history. So I laugh at the attacks at us because it's so funny when you get fact-checked or people come after us and you're like, dude, we're like three guys telling jokes in our garage and we're threatening the entire media establishment just because we're not willing to give into the lie of the culture. This is Brian Stelter calling us a fake news site. This is another CNN reporter, Donnie O'Sullivan, and what he's that's a big tweet, but what he's upset about is that we wrote an article when General Soleimani got, drone struck, or however you say that, and we wrote an article, and of course the New York Times put out an article on it, and the CNN put out an article on it, and the Babylon Bees joke about it got shared more times than the CNN article. And so he said that this is a very dangerous case of misinformation spreading on the internet because our joke got shared more than people are reading CNN. And the person he's quote tweeting there, by the way, is an ex-CIA agent saying that we're dangerous misinformation. This is a fact check from USA Today. We did a joke that Trump proposed a space navy. After water was discovered on the moon. And so we had a Photoshop of an aircraft carrier sitting in a lake on the moon. And of course, that warrants an 800-word fact check from USA Today. We also told a joke after Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, saying that the Ninth Circuit Court overturned her death. And this was fact-checked by USA Today. And you got to read the fact check if you get a chance. It's fantastic. It's like 1,200 words long. They actually called the Ninth Circuit Court to ask them if this was true. Now, I know we got a lot of Christians in here. How many of you guys know Monty Python? Fairly, okay. I don't know if you're good Christians or Monty Python Christians, but we wrote this joke. Senator Hirono demands Amy Coney Barrett be weighed against a duck to see if she is a witch. If you didn't raise your hand, ask a neighbor and they'll explain it to you. But Facebook ended up deleting that post from our page and claiming that we were calling for violence on Senator Hirono through this joke. The New York Times wrote a piece calling us far-right misinformation that uses satire claims to protect our presence on the platform. It says the Babylon Bee is a right-leaning site that sometimes traffics in misinformation under the guise of satire. Three Christian guys telling jokes. New York Times. Here's a couple of our jokes that got fact-checked. CNN purchases industrial-sized washing machine to spin the news. At the time, the Babylon Bee was literally just 2 people. It was just me and the founder, Adam Ford, working on it. And I got a notification on my phone saying that Facebook is going to demonetize and deplatform us for sharing fake news on their platform because of this joke right here. Here's another one that got fact-checked. Trump, I have done more for Christianity than Jesus. In our defense, this was before he had actually said something like this. Snopes also fact-checked California Christians must now register Bibles as assault weapons. It's not true yet, guys, not true yet. That's what they found. Thanks to new laws, VeggieTales finally introduces new cannabis character. That's Cannabis Carl right there. My favorite part is horrified Laura Carrot over there. A lot of concerned grandmas emailing us about this one. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez appears on The Price is Right and guesses that everything is free. And Pope Francis says COVID vaccine will now be required to enter heaven. It's hilarious to us. It's so funny, but it is part of this concerning thing about our culture that we can no longer laugh. We can no longer tell truth from jokes, and we can no longer take jokes at our own expense. And especially the left seems to be unable to laugh at themselves anymore. We can no longer tell jokes in this kind of an environment. And this firestorm reached its peak when we published this joke. Now, I'm not going to say it's our greatest joke ever, okay? But we wrote this joke, we put it up on Twitter, and then our Twitter account got suspended, and a lot of you guys know the story. We were locked out of our Twitter account for posting this joke, and which is a parody of an actual USA Today piece where they called Rachel Levine one of their Women of the Year. And so we thought it was important to satirize the mainstream media and their inability to tell the truth and the way that they buy into the lies of our culture and the way that they erase women from our society, as we've seen more and more of. And we thought that was an important thing to satirize. So we got this suspension notice, and as part of the suspension notice, you can get back into your account, but you have to go through this, it's almost like, what do the Catholics do, like penance or something like that? Confession, thank you, I appreciate that. We had to work our way back into the good graces of Twitter by going through this list and acknowledging that we committed hate speech and acknowledging that we called for violence on this person. And me and the other owners got together and we said, we're not going to do that. We posted a joke, and it is a joke. It's supposed to be funny. It's making fun of something that was going on in the culture, and it's making fun of the mainstream media and what they were reporting at the time. But it is pointing to a truth, right? It's pointing to the truth that men are men and women are women, and it's something that our culture isn't allowed to say anymore. G.K. Chesterton, I didn't plan on doing this. G.K. Chesterton said that there will come a day when people will be shouted down for saying that the grass is green, or that 2 + 2 = 4, that a triangle is a 3-sided figure. And I think that day has come when you get shouted out of the public square for something like this. A joke that would have been innocuous 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, now gets you kicked out of your Twitter account. So we decided that we weren't going to delete this tweet. And this is our notice that we've been locked out of our account for hateful conduct. This is our CEO, Seth Dillon. He says, we're not deleting anything. Truth is not hate speech. If the cost of telling the truth is the loss of our Twitter account, then so be it. We didn't expect to change the world with this stand, okay? I didn't expect to get a call from Elon Musk saying, hey, why did you get locked out of your Twitter account? We didn't expect for anything to change. We thought we were going to lose our Twitter account and people would get riled up about it and then they would forget about it. But because we took this stand, this wasn't a stand to change the world, okay? This was just standing by our beliefs. This was just not going against what we believe. This is not going against the truth, not buying into the lie of our culture. And the next thing you know, Elon Musk buys Twitter. And when he walked into Twitter that November, his first command to the people at Twitter was, free the Babylon Bee. And that is just a crazy thing to me. And that's what I want to encourage you guys. I want to camp out on a little bit for you guys here tonight is you don't know what standing by your beliefs is going to do. You don't know who it's going to inspire around you. You don't know how it's going to change the world. You don't know what kind of hope it's going to give to the people in the office next to you. A lot of you guys probably work at secular workplaces and you're afraid to stand up and you're afraid to be a Christian. You're afraid to be a conservative. I work with conservative writers in Hollywood who can't tell the rest of the writers' room they're conservative, right? Or they're going to lose their jobs. But you know what? Sometimes it comes time for us to stand up because you don't know. Sometimes you'll stand up and you'll find that half the room is standing with you because you were the one that was brave enough to be first. So why jokes? Why are jokes so offensive to our culture? Why is comedies this big, brave stand? Why are the comedians the ones standing up and fighting and changing culture? Comedy's supposed to be fun, right? Comedy's supposed to help us laugh, and it does, but comedy communicates truth. The reason we got locked out of Twitter for this joke is because it's pointing to a truth. A funny joke can get people's guards down. You can say the truth, and it goes down easier because you're only joking. Comedy is prophetic in that way. The prophets used comedy. You guys know the story of Elijah when he was talking to the prophets of Baal. In 1 Kings 18, these people are already laughing. 1 Kings 18, 26 through 27, and they took the bowl that was given them and they prepared it and called upon the name of Baal from morning until noon, saying, "Oh, Baal, answer us." But there was no voice and no one answered. And they limped around the altar that they had made. And at noon, Elijah mocked them, saying, "Cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is musing or he is relieving himself, or he's on a journey, or maybe he's sleeping and must be awakened." See, Elijah wasn't super kind to the prophets of Baal. The comedy was a little bit mean. It mocked this thing that was worthy of mockery, that there was this false god up there instead of the true God that they should be worshiping. Satire speaks to these false cultural beliefs by skewering them. God himself mocked idol worship. In Isaiah 44, we read this: "The wood carver uses part of the wood to make a fire. With it he warms himself and bakes his bread, and then he takes the rest of it and makes himself a god to worship. He makes an idol and bows down in front of it. He burns part of the tree to roast his meat and keep himself warm, and he says, 'Ah, that fire feels good.' Then he takes what's left and makes his god a carved idol. He falls down in front of it, worshiping and praying to it. 'Rescue me,' he says. 'You are my God.'" So he's mocking idol worship, which was the sin that kept plaguing Israel for centuries and centuries and centuries. And he says, your idol carvers go out into the woods and they cut down this tree and they take the log and they cut it in half and then there's firewood here and here's my God. And he says, how do you know that they didn't get it backwards? And you're currently burning your God and worshiping firewood. If you read the words of Jesus, he wasn't always super duper kind to the Pharisees, to the religious people, to the people who were stuck up, to the people who looked down on everyone else. Martin Luther, apologies to our Catholic brothers, Martin Luther wasn't the nicest person ever on the face of the planet. C.S. Lewis shone a light on Christian living in the Screwtape Letters. G.K. Chesterton used satire to skewer politicians and the religious alike. So what I'm trying to show you here is that humor is a gift that God has given us in order to communicate truth to this culture that no longer believes in truth. That is why the culture finds our jokes offensive. They're pointing to something that they don't want to see. And these are some of those jokes that do that. Inspiring celebrities spell out, "We're all in this together," with their yachts. I think that's right off the coast here, wherever. This was right in the middle of the pandemic, and everybody was feeling this angst, and we could point at this thing and mock it that was worthy of being mocked, because there were so many people that were hurting during the pandemic, and you had the celebrities that were going on, and they were singing Imagine in their homes or whatever, and it was just this ridiculous time. And satire has this way of kind of pointing to this truth, but doing it in a way that everybody's guard is down, and we're all laughing together. NBA players wear special lace collars to honor Ruth Bader Ginsburg. This was also fact-checked, so just Biden cuts. I'll just let you guys read that one. I don't write these down. I forget which ones are in here, so hopefully they don't get me in any trouble. Cracker Jack changes name to more politically correct Caucasian Jack. You can now purchase the Caucasian Jack shirt at our store, so the guy that was laughing really loud over there, you can check that out. Report 95% of Christians agree the other 5% should keep adopting. If you can't say amen, you got to say ouch, right? Compromise. Texas says abortion can remain legal, but the baby gets an AR-15 to defend himself. We were doing a little Q&A earlier with some of the people here, and it was like just somebody asked about like how do you write a joke about abortion? It's the hardest thing in the world, right? Because how do you write a joke that communicates the truth but lets people know that it's a serious topic, you know? So I don't know if we crossed the line or not, but hopefully that one made some people laugh. Family with 3 adopted children surprised to learn they only care about the unborn. Always the criticism we hear. And so these are ones that kind of point to that truth. Comedy helps us to do that. Comedy also helps us to laugh at ourselves, and it helps us to retain hope during the dark times. How many times have we been through incredibly trying times in our lives, and the only way we get through is through humor, through laughter, through having these relationships, people that we can share joy with, people we can share a joke with. We got an email from a fan of our site and podcast who said that they were going through a quarter-life crisis. So I don't know how old they are, but... There are a lot of things that I can't control, but every day I take my dog for a walk and I listen to the Babylon Bee podcast. It gives me a lot of peace, and I love knowing that I'm not alone in Christian culture. You guys get me to lighten up and laugh at myself while taking more important things more seriously. I love that phrase. I love that way that humor, talking to people with that kind of joy in our hearts and talking to people through jokes and comedy and humor helps us to take the more important things more seriously. When we can joke about the silly things, when we can joke about worship leaders in their flannel shirts and Calvary Chapel pastors with their sandals that they wear on, their nice dress sandals that they put on Sunday, make fun of the Catholics or whatever. When we can tell those kinds of jokes, it can help us lighten up. When we can laugh at our denominational differences, it can help us to remember the true purpose of the mission that we're on. And it can help us to remember that we are here to glorify God and we are here to share the gospel. We got another email from a fan who said, my husband of 17 years passed away at the age of 41 a year ago, and the Babylon Bee was a lifeline for me. Now I can still keep up with what's going on in the news, but through the lens of humor and absurdity. I can't tell you how hard my 14-year-old son and I would laugh at your jokes, and you have no idea how much we needed something to laugh at. I know you're probably tempted sometimes to wonder if running a satire website really matters, but I can tell you firsthand that you are doing God's work. The world needs someone to make them laugh and show them how stupid politicians really are. It's important to be able to laugh at ourselves. It's important to remember, I keep coming back to this phrase, be these joyful warriors. I think about Chesterton, who was that, always had a laugh, always was able to tell the joke, always was able to make a witty observation about things. It's important to have that attitude. Our mission and our message is not going to be attractive to the world if we're always the very dour, serious ones. And I know that you guys are fighting a very serious part of the fight. And I know that Network Medical is fighting in a very serious part of our culture war. Probably the most important thing. Is there anything more important than defending the lives of the innocent? There's probably nothing else that gets me more fired up than that topic. And yet we have to retain this sense of joy. We have to remember that God is going to win and that he is in control. If we forget that, then we can't laugh. Why do you think another reason that the left can't laugh, right? Because they have no idea where history is going. They have no idea. They don't believe in some God who's in control of everything. They think their own political efforts are going to save the world through their progressive policies or whatever, right? So they're always mad about everything. We don't trust in politics. We trust in our God. I don't remember what else I have in here, so maybe we can see. Okay, I guess that's the beginning again. I never remember what kind of jokes I have in here. But it's so important for us to be able to laugh. It's so important for us to be joyful. And I want to spend the last few minutes here encouraging you to not take part in the lies of the culture. That just by this small act of faithfulness that we had at the Babylon Bee, by just, refusing to say that a man is a woman, like by refusing to back down from our belief that men are men and women are women, ultimately we played a small part in this freeing of the platform Twitter that has now been this bastion of free speech. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who is author of the Gulag Archipelago, said, "The simple step of a courageous individual is not to take part in the lie. One word of truth outweighs the world." He described, living in Soviet Russia. He described this kind of ominous thing where, like, every day the soldiers would come and the secret police would come and they would take, like, the neighbor that's at the end of the hall, and then everybody would be like, "Oh, that's terrible. I better not say anything," and they wouldn't stand up and fight. And then the soldiers would come the next day and take the one the next door closer and then the next door closer. And he said, "We never spoke up because we always thought maybe they won't come for me until it was too late. Until it was too late for them to stand up and they no longer were able to fight back." He said if they had all just stood up the first time it happened, then they would have been able to fight off the revolution and fight off the secret police and save their country. But he's quoted as saying, and it's kind of chilling, he says, "We did not love freedom enough. My comrades and I did not love freedom enough." So that's what I want to ask you guys. Do you love your cause enough? Do you love freedom enough? Do we love the unborn enough? Are we willing to stand up and be faithful in these little things and see what God will do with that small gift, with that small contribution, with that small act of remaining faithful to our beliefs? You know how freaking easy it would have been for us to just delete our tweet, and just click the button and go through that thing and be like, "Fine, we'll get back in." And who knows what Twitter would be today, what the social media landscape would be today, what free speech would look like today if we had simply not been faithful to our beliefs. And I'm not patting ourselves on the back here. I'm not saying that we were these amazing heroes. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying we're just ordinary dudes. We're dorks who run a Christian joke website, and God, for some reason, decided to use us. So if you're a Christian dork in here, I want you to know that if you're faithful with your talents, if you're faithful with your contribution to the culture, if you use your God-given talents and the resources that he's given you to fight for these causes, God just might change the world through your little contribution. Thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kyle. That was amazing. Let's give Kyle the Culture Slayer another round of applause. We're so grateful for the work that they're doing. There are many layers and defenders to the culture war on life. There are the Lila Roses and the Seth Grubers. That's right, they're great. They fight to educate and change the hearts of culture in the public square. They are so needed, and we hope that you're supporting them. But what is Network Medical's role in all of this? Network Medical is in the trenches of this war. We're dispelling the lies of culture, one mother, one baby at a time. You see, it's through the ultrasound that every woman's eyes are open to the fact that she is not carrying just a clump of cells. She's carrying a baby with a heartbeat that just needs time to grow. We provide support, whether it is emotional, spiritual, or practical, so she can be free from the influence of fear and save her unborn. As a pastor who gave an announcement about this fundraiser so eloquently put it, Planned Parenthood takes lives. Network Medical saves lives. Now, $1,200 will save the life of a child at Network Medical. That's a $100 a month commitment. That does not include advertising against Planned Parenthood, so just know that. So if you are that person here and you have $1 million and you want to help us fight Planned Parenthood's ad budget, please do it, and let's get them. Mainstream culture tells the world that you and I only care about saving the baby. Kyle even said it up here. The reality is, you and I care about saving them both. Here's just one story of many from one of our patients that shows just how much we care.
My name is Abigail. I live in Santa Barbara, California. I'm from Ghana, a little town called Obuasi in West Africa. I moved to the US in October, and in November I was working, and then I felt sharp pain on the left side of my abdomen, and then I went to the ER and I found out I was pregnant. I was 16 weeks gone. I had no idea. I was not afraid because at the end of the day, it's gonna be a baby. So I was anxious, but I was not afraid. We started calling the hospitals for scheduling for the ultrasound, and I was not getting any appointment as soon as I wanted it. My boss called Network Medical, and she had an appointment the next day. It was that fast. When I walked through the doors and I met the people there, I was happy and I was not afraid, and I had the ultrasound. That moment was priceless. I was so happy, and I didn't believe that there was a life inside me all this while. That was when I knew I was gonna have a baby, and I just couldn't wait to meet her because it was just beautiful.
Honestly, I look at Aurelia as I would look my own daughter. I love her as much as I would love my own daughter. She brings so much joy.
Aurelia is a very happy baby. She makes me smile. And she's somebody I can talk to when there's nobody around. She's a happy girl.
It's been really a sweet experience for us to get to know Abby more. Her need for help allowed us to be able to get closer, and as a result, we've all enjoyed getting to be a part of the special connection between Abby, Aurelia, and the staff at Network Medical.
When I left Ghana to this place, I had nobody. I knew nobody except the work that I was gonna do. Now I have a family and I have a little girl, and it's wonderful.
Abby has become family. She is a sister to me, and her little daughter has become sister to my little daughter, and it's been a very sweet relationship between all of us.
Onyamisha obibia oye adwuma ewo honam ana oma omuyi bibua network medical. In English, it would be that God bless everyone who supports the cause and the people who work there. Thank you so much for everything. I am grateful.
Abby and Aurelia are doing great. Abby was recently accepted into nursing school, and Aurelia turns 1 in just a few weeks. Yeah, we can't wait to throw her her first birthday party. You are here tonight because you care about these women and their unborn just as much as we do. Thank you for your support tonight. With your financial commitment, we can continue saving lives and caring for women like Abby with the additional support and love of family. Thank you.